Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Write Project podcast and radio program. This is a show about writing and modern Newfoundland author culture. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew, author of such novels as Touch Your Nose and Jacoby Street, and founder of Engen Books. Let's see what we have today. To this computer. Okay, well, we are here on a special episode of the Write Project podcast with AJ Ryan. She is the author of Secret of the Ohks, the ninth. Is that the right pronunciation?
No.
No. How do you pronounce it?
Secret of the Ohks.
Secret of the Ohks. She is the
Sorry.
author. No, that's
put
fine.
that in the front.
She is the author of Secret of the Ohks, the ninth book in the Slipstreamers series from Engen Books. Thank you for being on with us, AJ.
Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. Wonderful. All right. I've got a bunch of questions here that people are just dying to know. They've been asking and writing in. When are you going to have AJ Ryan on? I need to know. We are fans and we need to know what she thinks about every life, the universe, and everything. Are you ready?
Hit me.
All right. AJ Ryan, what are common traps for aspiring authors? What are pitfalls or mistakes that new authors make? By the way, you can skip any of these.
Okay. No, I just thought I was going to get interrupted there. Sorry. I should have put up the sign. Working from home. Common traps for aspiring writers. The one I fall in constantly is perfectionism. It needs to be perfect. So, especially as an editor, you get like in this editor brain, and you're thinking every day. I'm telling people about the structure, and you got to have the obligatory scenes, and then I start thinking, okay, yeah, your characters need to be rounded, and then I sit down and do my work, and this is a vortex in my head, and I start writing something. I'll be like, this isn't, this doesn't have enough elements of, for the chapter. It doesn't have the climax, the whatever, and then I just talk myself out of it.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
So yeah, you just kind of end up in a nosedive. And
that is interesting. You've seen, because you were, I don't know how atypical of this is in the larger industry, but like in the local industry, the path usually goes author, like recognized author, editor. You know what I mean? Where it's like they still write, but they make some of their money every year through editing other people's work. You jumped right to the editor side of things and are now still working. There's Secret of the Ohks, which is a novella, but also like you're working on your own projects and your own novellas and novels and stuff like that. So it's like I imagine that would, like, it's almost like it's self-intimidation. You know what I mean?
That's fair. So yeah, no, I started as an editor. Yeah, and I think you've spoken with Erin Vance on the show before, and she's experienced a lot of that same thing. And I mean, I was writing a long time before I got into the professional editing. So first, when we would talk or I would hear her talk at shows or conventions, I would be like, I have no idea what she's talking about. Like, she's missing the point. No, she wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm totally in that same category now, where I end up questioning everything I'm writing and needing it to be perfect because I'm an editor and I know better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're a writer, you can't be the editor. And we tell people this all the time, like, don't edit your own work. That's one thing to understand. But then knowing that you have to lock the editor part of you out of the room when you sit down to write, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. Like I've people know over the last couple of years, I've had the quest for finishing energy. And really what was blocking me from getting near a finish line was the editor, me, that editor in me. It was because I would, I've got manuscripts that I've rewritten twice and still don't feel like it's okay because I'm like, God, I'm an editor. This is going to make me look bad as an editor, but I'm not even the person editing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And part of the reason way back when Engen was in its infancy that like I was like, oh, I need to hire an editor. What like an on-staff editor wasn't even just because I need an editor, but also because in editing other people's stuff, I was finding it harder to write. And I was like, nope, nope, done with this. This is not how this is happening. Away it goes.
I can understand that. A lot of people say that when it comes to like editing and or reading other people's stuff. I something about how I went through school and stuff, I generally find it inspiring, but that editor that needs to be that meaner editor that needs to be locked out of the room can sometimes sneak back in and be like, you know, you helped that person make that character really awesome, but you're not doing it with yours.
Yeah, but you need that second set of eyes. You just do, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And not even having a specific editor on payroll yet, just having a writer friend,
yeah,
can really take that doubt away. And
I would actually even be like, have a writer enemy. Like, I hate writer friends because they're too nice. You know what I mean? My favorite
yeah,
thing.
you got to be careful about who you choose. But I like to give people like a first shot, a practice run, and if they can be particularly harsh or mean, I really think anybody's mean. But
Honest.
yeah, we like to joke and say, "Oh man, you're such a meanie." Then I'm like, go for it, you know. We'll talk to you about the next few things.
I mean, like, listen, if you've got a friend who is like, if anyone out there listening has been asked by a friend to critique their work, realize that they're not asking you for something trivial. They're asking you for something really important. So like ask yourself how seriously you are taking it. Like if you were if you were a stylist and I came to you with like and asked you how my hair was and you thought it was horrible, lie to me. Tell me that it's fine even though you think it's horrible. However, if you're my friend and a doctor and I come to you with a large growth that looks like a problem on me and you lie to me and say it looks fine because you don't want to scare me or hurt my feelings, that's not really actually being a great friend. Like harsh truth time, go get that biopsy.
And you know, if a friend comes to you and asks you to read something and critique it, well, first of all, the person asking needs to think about or ask, do you like the genre, first of all?
Yeah.
Is this okay? Because there's no sense in me throwing, well, there's certain people don't like horror. Why would I give it to that person? They're just going to be disgusted by it.
Yeah.
But second of all, if you're asked to critique something, you need to come at it like we say it's the base concept of being an editor is always think it from the reader. Is the reader going to get confused by this? Is the reader, you know, going to be turned off by this character suddenly acting in a way that was not set up at all, doesn't seem in their personality, those sorts of things. And that's the way to phrase it. It's not about you. You need to be more objective about it. I've heard people say like, oh, no, don't get someone who loves or really likes what you do. I don't think that matters so much, as long as they can be a little more objective and say like I have a beta reader right now and I'm all about dialogue and, you know, how characters play together and all this sort of stuff. So I get so into that on my draft, and particularly on this one book that I'm working on known as Space Lesbians.
Space Lesbians.
Hashtag Space Lesbians on Twitter.
I just sorry, continue and I'll go on this
anyway, but I constantly forget. I mean, they're on an alien planet and I never explain the surroundings because I'm so into the dialogue. So, you know, so they can come around and be like, tell me what it looks like. They're outdoors. What are the trees? What are the colors of the water? Is there grass? Is there this? And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, because readers need the picture, AJ.
Yeah.
Same thing. You just got to come at it, be a little more objective and say, the readers are going to want this.
Every time you hashtag space lesbians, I think the same thing, and I want it. I think I want like a lesbian version of the 60s like Star Trek show where it's the Enterprise, but it's completely just women, and they're going out
Amazons in space.
and there's like the Captain Kirk style like sleeps with anything character who's the captain, and it's just that go and have fun.
I mean, that could be a great fanfic. I could totally do that by taking like I'm not
a fanfic. This is its own thing. This is not a fanfic.
I mean, yeah, you take the fanfic and then you morph it into something else.
But the tagline for this like lesbians but Star Trek space lesbians thing writes itself, which is to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Oh man, that is awesome.
Come on.
Me though, because anyone who watches Voyager, like,
yeah, for sure. That was a long one question. That's fine. That's lovely.
Sorry, tangent.
No, that's perfect. It makes it so much easier to edit. That's wonderful when that happens. AJ Ryan, if you could tell your younger writing self, you at a previous point in your writing journey, any one thing, what would it be?
That is a good question. Young me. Don't stop enjoying it. Don't forget to enjoy it. That's what I would tell myself, because honestly, the writing started, I was very young. And it used to be just to entertain myself, but then I ended up living very far away from friends.
Yep.
And we got into the internet. It was back in the days of dial-up. And we would all stay up till about midnight, because that's when everyone else would get off the internet in your house. And you would dial in, and we would start writing together in a way that's also known online as role play. So you come up with a world or characters, or a lot of people do it with, say, like you're into, I don't know what the big show is right now, but say Naruto, and they would pick Naruto characters. But a lot of the time, me and my friends would go with said concept, make your own characters. It's kind of like D&D, I guess, online.
Yeah.
Except with all the rules and dice and stuff.
Except with all the rules and dice and stuff.
Anyway, and it was just fun. And then after that, if no one was online, or say I was in school or something, I would just start writing scenes because it was fun. And then at some point, I guess when you become an adult, you're like, this needs to be worked now.
Yeah.
And, the editor brain gets in there, and the critique brain gets in there, and you just you start scaring yourself away from it.
Yep.
And I would say it's taken time to come back to just having fun with it. I like to call it nowadays playing in the sandbox with your characters.
Yeah. That's nice. That's true. Sometimes I look at my life and how stressed I am and stuff like that, and I go, remember when this was something you did to enjoy yourself? Like, I always wonder if adult film stars ever think about that. It's like, oh man, we've made this work. Remember when we used to do this for fun?
Yeah, I bet all skills do that, because I hear that with illustrators as well. Illustrators, it's a big fear, and it's a big complaint. They're like, crap, it's not fun anymore. And you see a lot of burnout happens that way, right?
Big time.
Sometimes I get what you mean. You get this level of stress in your life as an adult. And sometimes I think back to when I was in university, and I was like, you know what? Someday I just need to when COVID no longer is here, ride the bus again. Because my God, like you're stuck in a place for 2 hours because Newfoundland busing. You're on the bus for 2 hours to get to your stop. So you're right, because you're stuck somewhere, you can't do anything else. Let's entertain myself.
I used to in school when I was a decent student, but like at the same time not but like I was always trying to be polite so I wouldn't disrupt the class. I would plot novels in the margins of my notebook. I miss that where it's just like pure escapism where it's like not worried about plot or dialogue. It's like, okay, what happens next? What happens next? And you're just
I used to
plotting.
do that too. Yeah, you get your notes down and you're waiting for everyone else to do it. So it's like, on the back of the page, start writing like, "Ooh, what if I threw this into a scene? And how are they going to react now?"
Yep.
So much fun.
It is. It is. Okay. AJ Ryan, in your experience, what is the most unethical practice in the publishing industry right now? This is the only negative question.
Ooh, you love. Oh man. I have very specific. How do I say this without getting into too much trouble? I'm sure I have big. Crap. What's the word?
Misgivings?
No, I have big opinions.
Okay.
But I have very large opinions in certain things. And what was the particular wording you used there? Negative.
Unethical question in the publishing. Yes.
Well, I actually do keep up on a lot of publishing disasters. There's plenty of unethical things going on between different levels of publishing.
Yep.
What sticks with me, and it was my first big activism. You can see it's still on my blog with editing. And it's the feeling, and it might just be where we are on an outer community. We're not like in the heart of publishing right now.
Yep.
But it's always felt like editing has a major gatekeeping. We have a major problem with gatekeeping.
Yeah.
In the
industry. That's a major one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of levels with gatekeeping in getting published traditionally too.
Yeah. What annoys me about gatekeeping is that, like, say, like, the gate's here right in front of you, and like this is on the radio, so it's I'm gonna try to describe it with words instead of like on the like in front of you on with my hands, like I'm doing with my hands. But let's say the gate is right in front of you, but if you look and there's someone there keeping it, but just to the side there's a massive hole in the gate. You know what I mean? Which is the case with a lot of traditional publishing. Like there's small press, there's indie, there's self-publishing. There's a lot of ways around it, kind of thing. The level of hate that if you say like if your stuff's good and you go to the gatekeeper and they're like, yes, you get to come in, you get the stamp of approval, yay. But if you don't, that's fine too. But like if you don't think that you even want to approach the gatekeeper, like if you're like, screw you, like who are you to be a gatekeeper? You're nobody. And you choose to go around the hole in the fence, the amount of vitriol that sometimes those gatekeepers will like, I didn't let you in. How did you get in here? You do not belong. And it's like, there's a hole in the gate right there.
Yeah, I always find it strange how you get that, especially when it is those strict gatekeepers and like this is the ladder you must climb to get through until I unlock the door for you, right? Yeah. I'll unlock that window up there for you if you do all A, B, and C. And I guess it's the old world thing, and as someone who studies history, I guess it's an offshoot of the old class divide.
Big time.
Perhaps it's clearly not a class divide anymore because most of us are sitting in the middle class. But yeah, I don't understand. And I think a lot of us, especially with the indie why can't we just celebrate everyone's victory?
Yeah. And I find that those
it's
people
not taking away from the rest of us. The more people that write, the more people will. I'm going to steal this one from Joanna Penn. The more people that write, the more people will read. It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, they treat it like it's pie, and that if I get more, you get less, but like it's an infinite pie. Yeah. But like, I do agree. I think it is a bit of a class thing and stuff like that. Which also part of what annoys me with it is like there's this a lot of disillusionment with people who do go through the gatekeeping system and who make it, because like once you get through it all, you kind of expect, well, I've gone through all these hoops and I've done it the right way. Clearly, there will be more money in it now that I've done it the right way. And there often isn't, and there's often less money in going about it.
I often feel bad for them because like that must be so deflating. My goodness.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I'm not sure. I think we're seeing it in a lot more places than just publishing these days too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that people who get there, either you're not spending as much time climbing the ladder, getting those different stages, or they're just willing to be okay. This other way of publishing seems better. You see a lot of people go hybrid and then eventually into the indie, taking more control of that. Frankly, with the gatekeepers, maybe our big four publishers now, here they are.
Yeah.
The big five, maybe that's for big names only. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to deter anybody because certainly, especially here locally, we see a lot of great work going on with traditional publishers. People still, it is the recommended route for them to at least get started.
Yeah.
And then you can jump from the nest and decide where you want to go from there. But sometimes it depends on what you're writing and what your goal is. Yeah. But yeah, gatekeeping it's not necessary, and it's certainly not necessary to get mad at people about how they go about getting around the gate. It's just I wish there was more knowledge openly available. With editors, it's been tough, especially in Newfoundland, to get around getting any information, figuring out how you can make a career of this. Do you need the education? That's an awful lot of money because you can't be educated in the universities here in the Maritimes.
Yep.
So you're talking Ontario, Victoria, BC level of education, and by that I mean the cost.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to stay in those cities, then it's a question of, you really need to have a clear path defined before you jump into that choice. But then figuring out freelance, a lot of people in the industry are freelancers. What is the direction for that? What kind of courses do you take? What makes an actual freelancer? What we have in Canada, the licensed associate, you can get a license. You can call yourself a licensed professional editor from the Association of Canadian Editors.
Sure.
I said that backwards. But anyway, but again, you got some sort of courses that when I looked at it when I was younger, it was self-study. We had to fly to Halifax, and you had to do that twice because you can only take 2 tests at a time, and it was 4 tests to get the full license.
Oh, well,
that felt like a giant gakekeeping slap in the face to me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry if I'm pressing people.
No, if I had that kind of money, I wouldn't need, if I had that kind of money, I wouldn't be getting into editing. I'd be staying at whatever position I had that gave me that amount of money.
Yeah. And again, you get that license and there is no guarantee you're going to get with a publisher or anything.
Yeah.
So, and having to self-study, that's not something necessarily everyone is tuned for.
Yeah.
I particularly do better in a class with someone speaking.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So it was very depressing, very difficult. And part of my thing, people ask me like, how, if I want to do this, how am I going to go about it? And that's been a big journey and still trying to figure out. I will say, if anyone's interested, there is a membership or a organization called ACES, ACES, all capitals, ACES editing. You should be able to find it. Every Wednesday on Twitter, they do hashtag ACES chat. Again, all capital letters, except for the chat part, that's in lowercase. And a lot of the freelance editors will, they answer questions that the organization puts out. And it's a very helpful way to not only find people in the community who are working, and a lot of them are so willing to chat with you. I found a few that I keep in contact with, but also just finding information through their answers.
Okay.
So there are ways, but there are those of us who need to dig for it. And I'm sure that's the same in any level, indie, publishing.
Yeah.
I'm at the beginning of that, but it's daunting. And I'm sure the same with you running a publishing company, coming up against a lot of the people who do stand in front of the gates.
I mean, it gets to the point sometimes where like people like I've encountered people who like believe in the gatekeeping system, who refuse to acknowledge Engen as a publisher, which is particularly annoying because like often you're like, okay, go through the list, name 10 things that you need to be a publisher, and we do all 10 of them. I'm like, cool. And they're like, yeah, but you're still not. I'm like, okay, but if we're not, then there are none in the province. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could see this 10 years ago when it was just me, but get off your high horse,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not to vent.
You and I can get into this very far, but let's not.
Yeah, you and I can forget we're being recorded and start naming names, and that's
exactly.
No good for anyone.
Or dropping terms that people will not enjoy.
Yeah. AJ Ryan, what did you do with the first money you ever made from your writing?
What did I do with it? I gotta think back to when that was first.
Do you know what the most popular answer to this question is?
What is it?
I bought a fancy pen from Corkboard Pens.
I'm not sure about that, but thank you. For anyone who doesn't know, Corkboard Pens was my fountain pen company.
Yes. You were the pen lady.
Yes, the
Anyway.
pen snob.
What did you do with your first money?
I'm guessing my first money was probably in 2018. Helping out Amanda with Supernatural Causes.
Maybe.
I'm gonna call that my first big one because anything before that was literally pocket money. I was a student and I probably bought food. And with that, I have a really bad habit. I shouldn't call it a bad habit. I stash money away.
That's a good habit. What are you talking about?
I reinvest it. So I probably.
These are good habits. What's wrong with you?
They are, but there ain't no girls gonna have fun on that. Yeah, probably reinvested it.
Okay, sounds wonderful. That's a good answer.
Sorry, it's boring, but
not at all.
Oh yeah, I bet you I bought business cards with it.
That's boring. That's worse. That's boring. Yeah.
It's a reinvestment, but it's boring.
Yeah, it's like
my business cards get thrown out after a year.
All right, well, thanks for coming on again. For all of you, we'll be here again next week at 4:30 Newfoundland time or online at chmr.ca. Please tune in and we'll talk more about writing culture in Newfoundland.